Well, in this season of hearts, a warm welcome to BCRTA's Lunar Valentine broadcast event. I'm Tim Anderson, Executive Director of the BCRTA, and today we are celebrating two special times of the year that overlap, Valentine's Day and Lunar New Year. Before this broadcast is complete, we will have awarded fabulous Lunar New Year gift baskets to three lucky winners. And each of those winners has been able to designate a Valentine friend, and that friend will get a matching gift also. So please do stick around and see if your name has been selected. On today's broadcast, we have some terrific information for you from three special guests. Of particular importance to retired teachers is our own teacher's pension plan. We get a chance to visit with the TPP's Executive Director, Stuart Morgan, to review some of the important facts about how the pension plan works and what we can foresee for the TPP in the years ahead. We also have a visit with hearing expert and audiologist Jillian Price, who will give us some insights into how caring for our hearing is part of caring for our cognition, our relationships, and our emotional well-being too. But first, we're going to go high tech. Do you ever wonder why your smartphone seems to be getting smarter? It just may be that you are feeling the first waves of the rising tide of AI, artificial intelligence. And to help us navigate that sea change and how information is presented to us and created by us, we have tech expert Linda Focus. Let's dive in. Well, a very good friend to the BCRTA is back again. Linda Focus of the Glue Society has been a wonderful partner for us. She has provided so much great information along with her compatriots at Glue Society regarding tech, and specifically tech in the world of retirement. And she's back again today to talk about a pressing topic that we're all interested in. And David Denier, chair of our communications committee, is here to ask her some questions about AI. Take it away, David.
Okay, thank you, Tim, and thank you, Linda, for making time to do this for us. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it will be a pleasure. So thank you. I mean, we're now firmly in, it seems, the age of AI, artificial intelligence. But it seems to me, in reviewing what I've read about it, is there's no real agreement on exactly what AI or artificial intelligence is. So, as a kind of baseline for us to start on, what's your view of that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because it is a mixed up world right now. If we track back, let's pretend we're in 2022 when the world was a little more, AI was a little bit more unnoticeable. It was hidden in plain sight when you were using most of the devices that you're using. For instance, if you were you were writing an email and there was content, coming ahead of what you're writing. So predictive text, that's AI. Spell checking, that's all AI. You're on Netflix and you're getting some form of recommendations for what to watch. That is all AI. So it was in our lives and we liked it and we didn't pay much attention to it. I don't think anybody stood up and started beating the drum that it was going to, start the next robot uprising. But move to the end of 2022 and we see Chat GPT, which is one of right now the most well-known brand of a GPT, which is a type of AI that masters human communication. So when you talk to a Chat GPT or a GPT, it's like you're talking to a human. And that hit us late 2022 for the mainstream world. And that's when everybody went, hey, hold on. We're now really blurring the lines between the what our computers could do and now what they can do and what humans can do. And that's when the conversation amped up. And we've now seen this conversation in the world, specifically recently at Davos, lots of conversation around how AI is going to disrupt every industry. And that's a big part of that is this generative AI, the AI that can create content like text when you're talking to an AI, images, music, audio, all of that has hit us fast and hard in roughly the last year and a half. And I believe that's the AI that everyone's discussing when we're looking at those scary headlines or we're trying to figure out how AI fits into our life. I think we're really saying, how does generative AI fit into our new world?
Yeah, that's a good segue into what I was going to mention next, which again refers to some of the commentary on AI, which is on the one side very alarmist. We're at the end of the world, basically, if things continue to go in this direction. And on the other hand, there are those that are saying there's a great potential in AI. So, what's your outlook at the moment, Linda?
We're on the knife's edge of both answers. Yeah, it potentially could be, it will change civilization. This is, a once in a species moment. This is an incredible time for us because the AI you're talking about there, David, is artificial general intelligence. And that is when AI is smarter than humans. And that is when the apocalyptic fears of the world and the robot uprising, that's AGI people are fearing. The AI that we're talking about today, the generative AI that is creating content for us, is not going to do that. That AI is just going to help us do everything we do, just way better. Um, and the AGI, though, is where the big fears come from. And that's what keeps people up at night. And it should. And we need to have global conversations about how we want to see AGI be researched and developed, who will own it. These are just critically important conversations because every country on the planet that has the resources is going after an AGI, and those are companies within those countries. And there is a somewhat of an AGI arms race going. Nobody's created it. Some people are saying it may never be possible. If you talk to Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who has created ChatGPT, he was in the news a lot recently. He will tell you we're right on track. We are working hard for it, and it's going to happen. So when will AGI hit us? It's really, really hard to say. Maybe never. Maybe as early as 2040. I will say the new surveys from researchers who know the likely answers to this question better than I do have lowered the year from possible AGI from 2063 roughly down to about 2040. And that's with this generative AI in our world for really only about a year and a half. So I think these numbers are going to change a lot in the next few years. And the long answer is I believe that is the AI people are really fearing. And it really is a conversation that all countries are having. And the wealth that can be collected by these AIs is breathtaking. It's in the hundreds of trillions by some estimates. How that money gets dispersed back to humans. What is our role on a planet where we are the second smartest species? Those are big questions we need to have uh, with our governments, with ourselves, with the world. It's very incredible technology that's going to that. Yeah, it's a game changer. I'll just actually put it into an interesting context for you. Um, OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, has an agreement with their shareholders and investors that if they achieve AGI, all investment bets are off. You're not allowed to invest in OpenAI. Your money that you put into OpenAI today does not get you a piece of AGI, OpenAI. That's how big a deal it is. So it is a literal world changer, and that's for the better and very scary. Yeah.
Uh, and following then from that, let's look at the AI that's going to be helpful to us, hopefully. In what areas then do you see AI being of value, particularly for our senior population?
Yeah, so we're looking at the AIs that assist in our lives. Those are the ones that we don't notice so much. It just makes a lot of the technology we use possible. We'd also be talking about some generative AI technologies that are that we'll talk about in a second, but that are built into our interface or our experience with basically the robots that will start to populate our environments. So, for people not in the workforce, it's an easier question to answer today for the workforce because AI is going to start seeping into companies at a very rapid rate. But for people who don't have to worry about the work side of I am urging people to get comfortable with the generative AI technologies, something like ChatGPT, just so you can see what we're talking about. It's really hard to imagine what this does until you've experienced it. You just can't know. And what I'll say is that if I told you back in 2009 that you were going to walk around almost 24 hours of your day with a cell phone in your pocket, you would have said, "No, I'm not." I would have said, "No, I'm not." And look at us now, right? So it's really going to transform our societies and how we are as humans. And the only way you can grasp that is to use it. So I urge you to practice with it. And we have created the Glue Guide to AI for you to do that. And we'll share a link for you to grab that free resource to get you started. And the reason I'm suggesting you start there is so that you're talking from a place of understanding and knowledge about what this technology can do. And when we see the conversations you can have with a chat GPT or similar tool, Google's product is called Bard and it's part of the Chrome browser, but not yet available in Canada. So these tools are like having a conversation with a human. And when we talk about seniors aging, they're, the older seniors among our population are companion robots. This is a really big conversation. Companion robots are going to be talking to us through an interface like this. So what do we think of that as seniors? Are we willing to create relationships with these AIs? Because it is a lot like talking to a human. Is this a conversation we need to have as a society about how we solve some of the social isolation and loneliness problems that we have with a great deal of our seniors in this massive country? And how comfortable are we replacing human touch and real human connection with an AI? But outside of chat GPT or any kind of GPT, I urge you to look at your technology plan for your aging proposal. What are you planning on doing? I said that a little awkwardly, but the bottom line is, what technology are you going to lean on to be able to be the best version of yourself, healthy, happy, connected in your home? What tech are you going to use to do that? Because if you're not going to use technology, life's going to get very tough. It is much easier with technology, but the people I see who are retiring are very hesitant to bring new technology into their world. And these fears around AGI and the fears around new AI technology are slowing that down even more. So open your mind, see what you can bring into your life, and try to get really real about the data privacy risks. As I have mentioned before in previous conversations, people will say, I'm not going to wear a watch because it tracks me. I don't want cameras at home because they track me. And yet these are people on Instagram and Facebook giving up way more information to people who are going to use it in much less useful ways to you. So decide where your data leaks are in your life, and start to understand the privacy implications of this technology and weigh that against the benefits of it for you to live the best version of your life you can, assisted by it.
That, in effect, I think begins to answer what I was going to ask next, which was basically, should seniors venture into this world? And if so, what advice and cautions would you have? In other words, to get a little deeper into that, how should they go about it if they want to get into it? And you seem to be saying that we should.
I am. And the reality is AI is going to move fast. It's going to change your world, whether you're involved with it or you understand it or not. So I'm a big fan of knowledge first. Just know what you can. I'm not saying you have to bring it into your life every day, but I urge you to learn how to use it. I'd also urge you to understand the devices that you can use to make you live a happy, healthier life. And those are going to have some AI in it. So don't be afraid of it. It's going to move so quickly that really, if you're planning on living for the next 6 months, you're going to need to have an AI in your life in some way. And so try not to be afraid of it. And I would urge you to start venturing in with considering wearable technology, incredibly useful long-term support for proactive health. That's one way to get into a side of AI. Another way to get into it is through a chat GPT, just to play around. You're probably already searching the web using Google search. Well, a GPT conversation is like a web search that is totally personalized to you, that can actually game change how you find information. And a really simple example of that is if you're planning a trip somewhere and you're not sure where you want to go in Europe any time of the month or any time of the year, ask the AI that question, ask a chat GPT that question, and see the answers you get back. And then you can dive into questions to the AI. You can say, well, I would like to, I saw the Napoleon movie and I thought it was great, and I want to get a tour of Paris based on Napoleon's uh, life in Paris. And so the AI can give you the history and the map. And then you can say, yeah, but I want to make sure I get my 10,000 steps in on that tour. And it'll give you the routes, the actual street path to take to get your steps in. So it's a really personalized way to get the information off the web that you want. And we're already kind of doing that with a search, but chat just takes it to a whole different personalized level.
Just thinking of that for the moment, would health, for instance, which is high on the agenda for many seniors, maintaining health or trying to discern what might be going on if there is some kind of issue, would that be an appropriate tool to use?
Yeah, so where we're at with the GPT, Chat GPT, for instance, or Google Bard, is we can't rely on them. We wouldn't want to rely on them for the level of advice we would expect from a doctor. We wouldn't want to trust that they are able to give us accurate information about conflicts between medicines, et cetera. So venture carefully with health advice that's going to affect you immediately. But when we look at strategizing how we can stay healthy enough to live independently, those are great questions for an AI. What do I need to do in my diet, my physical routine, my mental health to be able to live where I want to live healthily? And here's the current status of my life. Like, here's my blood pressure. Here's how far I can walk without at a certain heart rate or whatever. Feed all your data in there and you're going to get an incredibly personalized, proactive workout plan or exercise plan. I just said that, workout or exercise, but health plan or whatever. Those are the sort of plans that you can look at and then use your common sense to see, is the AI right? Like, is it good to eat broccoli with sugar? Probably not. So it's going to get things wrong. And so you want to use common sense. And you might even dive into a good old-fashioned Google search to verify some of that info. But we're not yet there that we can rely on it as a doctor. That, by the way, I emphasize the word yet. Of course, huge money is going after that market. And we're already using these AIs to assist with mental health issues, people who aren't ready to commit to a counselor, but are very happy to have a conversation with an AI. So AI counseling is becoming a very big market. But venture carefully when it comes to something you're going to put into your body, because the information could be wrong. And verify everything. Just verify everything.
That's a great piece of advice, because that personally is one of the worries that I have, is being sure about what you're hearing, reading. And there's been so much about misinformation and fake news making its way into the AI world that it seems a pretty daunting task to be clear about what you're receiving.
Yeah, and I think it actually, in my view, it kind of just got simpler because we can no longer trust anything we see or read online. You've got to make sure what you're looking at, the deep fakes we're talking about, we're heading into an election cycle, super important that we are really aware of what we're looking at. Is that fake? Is it not fake? How are you going to know that? And I say it might have just got simpler because we're going to have to rely on only a very few number of websites to give us trusted information. We're no longer going to be looking at that random blog post that gave me some advice about something else. It's like, I don't know who that person is. I don't know where that information came from. So I think we're just going to start narrowing in and curating our trusted websites that we can. I'm a fan of the New York Times. I read what they write, and I don't do a lot of fact checking on the New York Times. I probably should, but I don't. If it was a smaller community newspaper, I might, for instance, or a blog post on it on a topic, I might. So find your trusted websites and stick to them, and do what you can to avoid the panic of social media when we see these deep fakes coming through. A lot of Taylor Swift deep fakes out there in the world right now. Those are going to come at us hard and heavy over these next 12 months. And you just can't trust anything unless you can trust the source implicitly. It's tough time for that.
Given all that you've said, are you planning courses or offerings on Glue that would provide the ins and outs as well as some guidance around the use of AI, particularly, say, ChatGPT?
Absolutely. And I think one of the hardest things to do as a person in the non-work world is to figure out, how do I dip my toe into this water? Where do you start? Right. And so that's why we created the Glue Guide to AI that you can get for free. We will be adding content onto that. That is in an ebook format. Um, a lot of the things that we show in that guide, though, are quite interactive. We would love to be able to show you videos in the ebook, which we could in an ebook format, of course, but not in a PDF format. So if you're interested in a course on AI and actually to have some handholding to use a tool like ChatGPT or Google Bard, let us know. The way we decide what courses to create is straight up how many people want to take it. So if that's a topic of interest, the information on how to put your vote in for that will be in the Glue Guide to AI. I'd say start there. We did a really ruthless job of keeping that down to about 10, 12 pages because we didn't want to overwhelm you. We could have easily written 100, all written by humans, by the way. Um, so we kept it short just to give you the real taster and really useful, immediately useful information. But if you want to expand beyond that, use the info in that guide to let us know you want more. And I'd be thrilled to create a course like that because we have to know how to really understand this technology, decide if it's for us. Are we going to be a better version of ourselves using it or not? Because if you're not, don't use it, but at least you know. How are we going to know when new AI technologies come around? How are we keeping our data protected? Are these companies we trust? How do we find out? So it's quite a fascinating topic, and you can see all the different areas we would have to veer into to cover what we need to know, because it is, as you said earlier at the top of this, such an incredible time for us to understand how to live alongside AI. And I will say, maybe controversially, this is not a time to ignore a technology. This is a time to eyes wide open. If you're a curious, intelligent person who wants to benefit from the technology that's hitting us, dive in. It's just it's a scary, wonderful place, and we need your voice in the conversation. I'll just stop in a second, but this is kind of incredibly important. We are the first generation of older adults who will use technology to age. And I can tell you the age of the people making that tech are not in their 70s and 80s and even 60s. These are young people. And we need to have our voice as part of that conversation. So do you like it? Do you not like it? How is it helping you? And if we're not using the technology, we're just going to be handed things. We're not going to be part of the process. So I urge you to become part of the process, at least through experience. That'll allow you to give reasonable and useful feedback. And I hope make you feel like you're part of the world, because this is the world we're living in, and it's changing fast, and you are definitely not too old to keep up with it.
Thank you, Linda. You've been super helpful and prompted so much thought. It's going to take a little while to digest, but I hope that our audience has learned as much as I have from you. I look forward to seeing what Glue has to offer in the way of help for us, and will certainly be continuing to contribute to your work and the work of Glue. So, again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
I will just say, if you do get into a chat GPT, you can ask it what the future of the world looks like. What can all this technology do? It gives you fascinating answers. So it's a conversation you can have all day long.
Well, lots to think about there. And if you are interested in this topic, you can look for Linda's article on AI in the forthcoming spring 2024 issue of Postscript magazine. And you'll also be able to find a longer version of the conversation with Linda with some insightful bonus material on the BCRTA website at bcrta.ca. So it's time now for our first prize draw, and I've got good news for Karen Vieira and your friend Annette. You are winners of matching Lunar New Year gift baskets. The BCRTA office will be reaching out to you to get those gift baskets on the way. Karen Vieira, congratulations to you. So let's move on now to our next guest, audiologist Jillian Price. I know you'll want to hear what she has to say. Well, we're very excited to welcome to this part of the broadcast special guest, Jillian Price, who's Chief Audiologist for Hearing Life Canada. And Hearing Life is an Advantage partner for our members and helps them with hearing needs. And to interview Jillian, we've asked Lori Dennell, chair of our Wellbeing Committee, to have a discussion with her about technology and the health benefits of taking care of your hearing. So I'll turn it over to you, Lori.
Thanks, Tim. We're pleased to welcome you, Jillian. You're the Chief Audiologist of Hearing Life Canada, and we live in a vision-centered culture. Do we underestimate how important hearing is?
Hi, Lori. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Hearing is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very passionate about the issue. So when I do get a chance to talk to people about it, I'm very grateful for that. So thanks for having me. We do live in a world where our vision puts our world in front of us, but hearing actually immerses you right into your world. So it allows you to be sort of part of the action. It brings life, color to your world. Without it, it can be quite isolating. So the answer to your question is yes. I do believe we underestimate how important hearing is because it's just really not something we think about. We hear automatically all day. We don't have an on-off button for our ears. They are essentially on all the time, even when we're sleeping. So for a lot of people, it's not until something goes wrong or we start to notice a change in our hearing that we really think about how it affects our life. And this could be in many different areas, because when we use our hearing, think about when you use your hearing all day long. So for safety, for our social activities, for our connecting with other people, enjoyment, entertainment, information. So even listening to this information right now, you need your ears to do that. So how important is that sense? One of our 5 senses, I may say the most important sense that we have. So yeah, it's time to think about our ears, love our ears, and give them the attention and love that they deserve.
All right. So what are the consequences of not loving our ears if we don't care for our hearing?
So if we're not stimulating the auditory cortex, the saying, use it or lose it, well, that does happen because you're depriving your ear of sounds and your auditory cortex of those sounds if you don't seek treatment or seek help. So we want to take care of our ears by really just making sure that everything's okay So get your hearing checked. But then there's other factors, really actually quite significant health factors, like higher rates of depression, higher rates of anxiety, social isolation, and even a higher risk of cognitive decline when we are not treating an identified hearing loss. So if there is something going on and we are seeing changes in our hearing, the consequence of not caring for them is pretty significant.
I understand that there's been significant advancements in hearing technology. What are some of the most important advancements?
Yeah, and without getting too technical, because listeners may not want the tech version of this answer, but I have two really important updates that have happened in the last, say, 5 years or so that are game changers for users of hearing aids. One is rechargeable. So rechargeability is a huge one. If you are a hearing aid wearer, you would have known for many years that hearing aids required batteries that had to be changed very, very often. And they're very tiny. And that was a bit of an issue and, just an inconvenience altogether. So having hearing aids that are rechargeable, and when we think about all of our devices that we use, so many of them get plugged in at the end of the night. This is just another piece of electronics, because hearing aids is an electronic device that you're just going to plug in at the end of the night, and you're going to recharge it while you sleep, and then you're going to get full use of it all day. That is very convenient for hearing aid users. The other thing is Bluetooth. And what I mean by that is, again, we have a lot of devices now that you can hook up one device to another or stream audio, watching television, talking on the phone, using your cell phone to watch videos or even have conversations, using your computer to do that. So anywhere where you can plug in, say, earphones or headphones, now you can usually link it up with your hearing aids. That is very, very beneficial for a hearing aid user that does not have to remove their hearing aids in order to hear, right? So the hearing aids act as a earphone now, a wireless earphone or a headphone. That is huge for people who are trying to navigate this tech-savvy world and try to use all the great items that are out there. Like cell phones are wonderful, but if you can't hear on a cell phone when you're trying to have a conversation, it's not wonderful for you. Now you can. So Bluetooth is a huge advancement and a game changer, I would say, for hearing aid users.
So is there solid research about the experiences of people using the latest technology?
Yeah, there's been lots of research to indicate, treating your hearing loss is beneficial for those who have a change in hearing, and in many ways. And so the research reveals that hearing aid wearers are just overall happier compared to those that don't treat their hearing loss. They're 3 times more likely to be happier. They report better relationships, because when we think about this, communication is key. So they have improvements in their relationships because they are able to communicate better with loved ones. So that's also huge. Better conversations, about a 40% improvement in conversations. Just think about those issues, right? Trying to have a conversation when you're struggling versus being able to hear naturally or easily. And they just feel more connected to their families. Because hearing is not really about hearing the sounds or not hearing the sounds. It's about connecting. And that is how we connect. We're social beings. And we use our ears, we use conversation a lot to do that. So it's about feeling connected to the people around you. And that's what this technology does. It's not perfect technology. I'll be the first to tell you the hearing aids are not perfect. But they do an amazing job at allowing individuals to reconnect in a world that's been quieted, that has been silenced or muffled because of the change in their hearing. So that reconnection is really important.
So if someone is thinking, I should check this out, what's the process for to assess our hearing and look at aids?
Okay. So if you are unsure if, number one, you may have hearing loss or you're not hearing as well as you should, or if you're experiencing tinnitus, the very first step is to come and get your hearing checked. It's easy. It takes about an hour. It's free at Hearing Life, so it's not even going to cost you anything. You don't need a referral, so there's no doctor referral needed. And that is the first step to find out what's going on. And it's such an easy step to do in terms of, it's painless and it's about an hour of your time. But it really gives you an idea of, okay, where am I at? And is there anything I need to do about this now? If you're wondering when is a great time to do this, we always recommend that everyone by age 60 should have a hearing test. So if you are 60 and older and you have not had one, now is the time.
All right. So the BCRTA has named Hearing Life an Advantage Partner. So what benefits do our BCRTA members and their families receive from this partnership with Hearing Life?
Yes. So they do receive double the air miles of non-members. So if you like air miles, that's a really great benefit to have. I love air miles. I like to travel. And so and there's also lots of great things that you can get on air miles other than traveling. You also receive an additional discount of an extra 10% off the final pricing. So you're going to receive, an extra discount that nobody else receives. So that's a perk of being a member and of this affiliation with Hearing Life. So we definitely want you to come and use that. And you're going to get the 360 care after service. That covers you for 3 years. So that means everything is included for 3 years. So it's really hassle-free, worry-free. We're going to take care of you and all your needs, all your hearing healthcare needs for the first 3 years of the purchase. So some really nice perks there. There are some additional perks, I believe, that come with the Club Pass, and there is a website that can give you the information for that. I'm sure you'll probably share that at some point with your members.
Well, I think we're going to show some contact information right now for people who are interested for themselves or a loved one. And thank you much for joining us today, Jillian. We really appreciate it.
Again, thanks for having me. It was great.
Good to see you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So folks, do take advantage of free hearing tests on offer at certified clinics, including those at Hearing Life. I also want to mention that the 10% discount for BCRTA members is always in addition to any other sale offer. So it compounds. It's not a one-time thing at 10%, but it's a compounding savings. And that means if you can spot a sale from Hearing Life with a 25% savings, you'll get an additional 10% off of that reduced price by showing that you're a BCRTA member. And I also believe that the EHC plans offered to BCRTA members, our own BCRTA Johnson plan and the Green Shield plan, also pay up to $1,400 towards your hearing device as well. So if you put all those factors together, it makes it much more affordable to take care of your hearing with some of that great new technology we just heard about. For more insights and common questions about hearing, we've got a longer version of our conversation with Jillian posted on our website at bcrta.ca. You might want to check that out. So, time again now. Reach in the gift basket here. Gift basket draw, and let's see who our next winner is. Okay, we've got Daphne Switzer. Daphne Switzer, you have won a Lunar New Year basket, and that means your friend Trish is going to get a lovely matching basket as well. Won't she be popular? Congratulations. Our office is going to reach out and get those out to both of you. Well, I understand that there are some traditions that involve giving cash gifts at the Lunar New Year, and I have to say that I haven't noticed any of that cash coming my way. But one of the financial gifts that keeps giving to our retired teachers is the Teachers Pension Plan, and we recently had a chance to catch up with their executive director, Stuart Morgan. Let's see what he has to say. I am delighted to invite two BCRTA leaders to help with this next interview. David Denyer is currently the chair of our communications committee, and many of you watching today's broadcast will remember him as the editor of Teacher Magazine. And Linda Watson is our current pensions chair, pensions and benefits committee chair, and she has a very long history with the teacher's pension plan. And so it's appropriate to invite both of them here to interview a special guest, Stuart Morgan, who's the executive director of the BC Teachers Pension Plan. And I'll turn it over to you, David, to ask the first question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Stuart, for agreeing to be with us this afternoon. I'm always intrigued by how people come into a particular position, whether it's by happenstance or calculation or a bit of a mix. Would you be good enough to give us an outline of your background and experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to start by saying thank you, David, Linda, and Tim, for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. So, David, in response to your question, my role is to serve the BC Teachers Pension Board of Trustees as its executive director. And I also have the same role for the BC Public Service Pension Board of Trustees. So how did I come to this position? Well, before I started in this role, I worked for around 15 years as an actuary and as a strategic pension consultant. And that's a career which has spanned both Canada and the UK. And most recently, I was working for a major Canadian consultancy based from Vancouver, where I provided advice to a broad variety of pension boards and plan sponsors. So, as I've mentioned, by profession, I am a fellow of both the Canadian and the UK Institute of Actuaries. Before that, my academic education is in mathematics. So I began my career as an academic, where I completed a PhD in maths before deciding to pursue a career as a consultant.
Hello, Stuart. Good to see you. I'm interested in if you could describe for our members a bit about your responsibilities as executive director and the overall structure of the pension plan. You might touch on the governance, oversight, and administrative functions a bit.
Many of us may well be aware that the teachers' pension plan here in BC has what we call a joint trusteeship governance structure. And what that means in practice is that effectively members and employers have an equal share of responsibility for the plan, an equal share of contributions, an equal share if there's ever a funding shortfall, but also an equal ownership of any surplus assets that may exist. Now, within that structure, plan members are represented by the plan member partner, who is the BC Teachers Federation, and the employers are represented by the plan employer partner, who is the government of British Columbia. The pension plan is set up as a trust. And I always say that the central characteristic of a trust is that it separates both the legal and the beneficial ownership of the trust property. And in our case, the trust property is the assets of the pension plan. So it's the board of trustees who are the legal owner of those assets, but the beneficiary, our plan members, is the beneficial owner. And so while it's the trustees who are then responsible for the administration and the investments of the plan, but they do delegate day-to-day activities. So to do this, it's the same piece of legislation that actually created the governance structure, also created two agents to the board, the BC Pension Corporation and the BC Investment Management Corporation, which we often refer to as BCI. So the BC Pension Corporation is responsible for the administration of the plan, and they're the people who make the monthly pension payments, and they would be the team who you speak to when members have questions about their pension. Then BCI is the organisation who's responsible for the management of the plan's assets. So where the Board of Trustees comes into it is it's the board of trustees who make strategic decisions, and then they provide direction to the plan's agents. So one of the simplest examples there would be that it's the board of trustees who set the investment strategy for the plan, and then BCI executes that strategy on their behalf. And it's then a critical piece of the work of the board is to oversee the work of its agents. Now, in addition to the agents, the board from time to time does retain services from other external service providers. And the board also employs an executive director, and that's the role which I currently hold. And we are supported by a small team at the pension board secretariats. So sorry, that's probably a long-winded answer, Linda, but to come back around to your original question of the role of the executive director, I would distill that into three key parts. Firstly, it's my role to support the board of trustees to fulfill its responsibilities to plan members, and that includes the oversight of its agents. Secondly, it falls with me to support the board to oversee its risk management efforts, and it's also my responsibility to help the board to maintain relationships with key groups.
So, Stuart, I know that across Canada, the pension landscape is varied and vast. How do you stay in touch with what's happening with other pension plans and learn from them, share best practices, and so forth?
I'd say it's a really important part of the role, Linda. And how I go about that is staying in close contact with our sister plans here in BC, including the BC College Municipal and Public Service plans. It also extends to maintaining connections with other public sector plans across Canada, but also the broader pensions industry as well. And I think these connections really help me and therefore the board to stay informed of thought leadership within the industry. So what I have found through this role is if there is an issue that's being considered by the teachers' pension boards, then there's a very good chance that one of our peers has also considered the same issue. So actually having those connections with peers in other public sector plans really is, I think, a critical support network for us. So if we look, for example, at our sister plans here in BC, we do have several committees which are represented by the college, the municipal teachers and public service trustees. And we use those as an opportunity to discuss things of mutual interest across all of the boards. Our board is also a member of the Canadian Public Pension Leadership Council, which is abbreviated to the CPPLC. And that's a network of 12 non-partisan public sector pension plans from across Canada. And collectively, that group represents more than 2.5 million members. So one of the roles that I have is to sit on the board of the CPPLC. And most recently, I have also joined the Association of Canadian Pensions Managements, the ACPM, who have a regional council here in BC. And for me, that's an opportunity to connect with industry professionals across the province. And then finally, in response to your question here, through my professional work as a fellow of the Canadian and the UK Institutes of Actuaries, that does put me in a global network of peers, which is a very useful support network.
Yeah, that's a lot of outreach. I'm sure we benefit from all those contacts on our behalf. Thank you.
We're fortunate in having a defined benefit plan, but not so long ago, there were quite a number of reports in the news about how employers and government, even in some instances, were trying to, if you like, get out of a defined benefit plan for their employees. So it's kind of come under, you might say, attack to some extent. Do you see a role for the teacher's pension plan in keeping the defined benefit pension, if you like, idea, concept, intact and surviving?
Yes, for sure. And there's quite a lot to unpack there in that question, David. Perhaps how I would respond to it is by talking a little bit about what the Teachers Pension Board does in this space, and perhaps focusing on the work it does through its membership of the CPPLC. So through its membership with the CPPLC, the Pension Board contributes to research that supports the value of predictable lifetime pension benefits in Canada. And defined benefit pensions are absolutely critical to this. So there was a piece of research published by the CPPLC back in 2021, I believe, and it was a really fascinating piece of research that highlighted the economic benefits of public sector pension plans in Canada. And one of the key conclusions reached are that the economic benefits of DB plans are far-reaching beyond just those who are actually members of the pensions. So just a few sound bites that came from this research. At the time, this research concluded that Canada's GDP benefits by more than $80 billion as a result of public sector pensions. And that was then described to be supporting around 900,000 jobs and more than $33 billion in wages nationally. There was also another piece of research published last year by the CPPLC, and at that time we surveyed Canadians on their perceptions of retirement. And that survey really showed strongly that Canadians are desiring and looking for a lifetime guaranteed retirement income that's adjusted for inflation. It's almost as if they're describing the teacher's pension plan. But what was quite striking in that research was that the overall well-being of individuals who participate in a defined benefit pension plan is seen to be improved. And the conclusion was that being a member of a DB plan removes a lot of financial stress in the build-up to preparing for retirement.
Stuart, other retired teachers across Canada, and we are in touch with retired teacher groups all across the land, they don't seem to always get a full cost of living adjustment to their pensions. But in BC, we have for these past many years. Can you tell us about our cost of living adjustments? How are they calculated, and will they continue?
The plan essentially has two separate accounts. The first is a basic account, and that's used to fund the basic pension benefits that member accrue during their working lives. So that's the guaranteed pension, which our members have. And both members and employers contribute a proportion of their pay into that account. And then the second account is what we call the inflation adjustment account. And that's what we use to fund the cost of living increases. And again, both members and the employers do contribute a proportion of their pay into that account. So cost of living adjustments are not guaranteed by the plan, but they can be granted on an annual basis at the discretion of the Board of Trustees. But I think it's important to remember that once a cost of living adjustment has been granted, then it becomes part of a member's guaranteed lifetime pension. So it cannot be taken away once it's been granted. So what I would say in response to this question is that providing cost of living adjustments are one of the funding priorities for the board. And it is the opinion of the plan's actuary that the ability of the plan to provide full cost of living adjustments are projected to be sustainable into the future. Now, of course, there are mechanisms within the plan. So if for whatever reason we hit a point in the future where there's insufficient funds in that inflation adjustment account to pay cost of living increases every year, there are sort of mechanisms to transfer additional surplus funds into that account should they be needed. And then the final part of your question in terms of how we calculate the cost of living adjustments, the plan rules do specify the maximum amount that can be applied each year. And so what the board looks at is the increase to the CPI index, the Consumer Prices Index, over the past 12 months ending September 30th. So for the increase that was applied on January 1st this year, we would have had a look at the increase in the CPI for the 12 months ending September 30th of 23.
What services can the teacher pension plan office, if you will, provide for members? Is there phone support and web support? Just a quick outline, maybe, of just what's available.
No, indeed. I guess the simple response, David, is all of the above. The team at the Pension Corporation really are here to help, and they really appreciate hearing from members. So if you have a question, if you're looking for information, then please do not hesitate to reach out to a member of the team at the Pension Corporation. You can call or you can send a message if you have a question. There's also online tools. If you'd like a projection of anything, then you can access My Accounts, which is accessible through the website, and you can have access to all of your records and pension entitlements online as well.
Thank you. Very helpful.
I know in my experience, Stuart, whenever I've had a question or when I was planning my own retirement, I would phone them up, and people on the phone were so easy to talk to, willing to help, and really, I just had nothing but praise for the work that they did. Just they didn't know who I was. I was just a member calling in, and they were just great.
It's great to hear, Linda. The team of the Pension Corporation really are first class, and they're here to help. So please do reach out.
You know, one of the most positive things about working in the retired educator sector here in BC is the great support that our retirees get, both from the pension plan and from our Retired Teachers Association. And at BCRTA, we're really pleased to be able to work together with the Teachers Pension Plan to get you the information you need at all stages of your retirement. So if you want to pursue this a little further, we've got a more complete interview with Stuart posted at our website, bcrta.ca. So check that out, as well as the Teachers Pension Plan website. And with that, we just have one more bit of business here, and that's our last gift basket. So let me see who we've got here. Mariko Nakagawa. You can light some New Year's fireworks because a Lunar New Year basket is on its way to you, and a matching basket will be on its way to your friend Peter as well. So congratulations, Mariko. So with that, I want to say thank you to the BCRTA contributors to this Lunar Valentine broadcast, David Denyer, Linda Watson, and Laurie Dennell, all BCRTA directors. Thank you for your interviews. And of course, thanks again to our special guests, Stuart Morgan, Jillian Price, Linda Faucus. Thank you for what you shared with us today and for all that you do for our members. And I want to sign off with a special thank you to all of you viewers for joining us today. All of us at BCRTA wish you a very happy Valentine's Day and Gung Hei Fat Choi. Bye-bye.